I have this beautiful bentwood umbrella and coat rack, and this one hook is broken off. I have never done any wood bending before. I want to see if I can't fix this. There's a screw here and one down here. You take those off to remove this piece. I've actually removed this one, which I'm going to use for a template for making this part of the hook. I'm not going to replace this whole thing. Hopefully just replace this part of it. Let's get started. This is the size wood that I need to replace the part on the coat rack. And one thing that's crucial in bending wood is you want the grain running this way. If it's any other direction, it's more likely to break. So this piece, it is doing that, and I'm going to soak it in this cake pan. So I'm going to cut it right there. And this piece will be about 3 inches longer than what I need, and that'll work out fine. I'll trim it down later after it's bent. So that fits. I'm actually going to cut 1 or 2 more just to have some extras. I've added some water to this cake pan, and I'm going to let this wood soak for a few days. My research has shown that if it's kiln dried wood, it doesn't like to soak up water. You can add fabric softener to this water, which will actually help the wood absorb moisture. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let it sit in this water. I need to find something to hold these down so they're underwater. But I'll let them sit. These 3 boards have been soaking for 9 days. Don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that they are kiln dried. And kiln dried wood takes longer to absorb moisture. I have it on the burner on my stove now. I'm going to heat this up to boiling and let it boil for probably, I'm going to try half an hour and see how that goes. I'm using an old cake pan because it's going to get probably wrecked. You can see the burn marks down the bottom where I'm guessing the sap has come out of the wood and dropped down and then stuck to the bottom of it. And you need 3 elements to bend wood: moisture, heat, and pressure. I let this steam for 45 minutes. The cover on. I'm wearing rubber insulated gloves, and I'm going to use needle nose pliers to take this out and bring it down to the mold. Yes, the first one worked. I'll let that cool. My understanding, you have about 30 seconds to work with that wood to get it bent. And if it goes anything beyond that, it's most likely going to break. This was the first time that I'd ever soaked, steamed, and bent wood. I talked to some friends of mine who are phenomenal woodworkers, and they gave me some tips, and gave it a shot, and fortunately it worked out. These boards that I bent have been drying for 5 days. And one of them, I actually tried to take it out between the clamps, and it straightened back out, and I tried to rebend it, and it delaminated right there. So that was part of the reason why I did 3 of them. I'd never done this before and didn't know how it was going to work out. This was actually the first one. This one's not too bad, other than it dented. It was kind of weird, but it is what it is. And then this one is the nicest and best one. That's why I put it into the mold here. That turned out really nice. There's a few dents there, but no big deal there. So now I need to attach this to the other half of the original piece and figure out how to do that. So that's where we're at today. This is the good part of the coat rack. And here's the broken one, and here's the piece that I bent. To replicate this, I'm going to need to cut this off here to replicate that. And then where this broke, right where that hole's at, weakest point, so this piece will go on and be joined together here somewhere. It end up being something like that. What I need to do is gluing. If I could just cut it off straight, but gluing the end grain is not very strong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all the way down here, and then I'm going to cut in here. Then when this piece goes on, I'm going to cut off half of this. So I have all of this surface area. This will be cut out, but all this for gluing surface, which is way stronger than gluing the end grain. So I need to cut this off. I'll put it in the vise. Let's see, how am I going to do that? It should work. I don't want to go really, just going to snug that up. I don't want to put any dents in that piece. And then I'm going to use hacksaw. If you watched any of my other videos, you know I use a hacksaw a lot, because the reason being is the super fine teeth. This is designed to cut metal. Metal's way harder than wood, but what I like is the really fine teeth. So line up with that line. And I'll cut through there. So I've got that long cut made. Now I've marked here, and I need to cut this down to that long mark, that long cut. I want to clean up this broken end, so I'm going to take my square, line that up, mark a line there where I need to cut that at. And looking on this back side, there's damaged material way down to here, so I have to move that down a bit. That should work. Now cut that off. Got that cut off, and then I want to line this up. So this new piece lined up down here. Mark that line where I want to cut it this way. And apologize, it's kind of dark. And then I've marked a line here. I need to cut that out. I also need to cut out this end too. I'm going to probably cut this way, and that way, and that way. It's kind of tricky putting this piece in the vise. very unconventional. In some ways work. It'll work at some weird angles. So I'm going to cut this off and I'll be back. We got this end cut. I'm going to take a file. Not super coarse, but less coarse. So what that is pretty coarse. And I'm just going to go over this, round off the corners. I'll clean it up. So, oops, I didn't cut that out very well. Well, doesn't really matter though. I'm gonna round that off more and get it looking more like that. Got this. I believe it's called a ship. Oh, a ship something. Learned about this a long time ago, but now I can see how much more glue surface on the side, not an end grain here, which glue generally does not stick to very well on. Now I have this long, it's probably an inch and a quarter, inch and a half long, and it fits together really good. Actually, I needed to sand this end off a little bit so that they fit. It was hitting down here and holding this gap open. So now that's looking good. So now, well, I can do that later. I'm gonna glue this together using some wood glue interior. This coat rack, not designed for outside use. So interior glue should be just fine. Some on those surfaces. And then some on here. Together. And rubbing this glue, it spreads out really well, and then it just kind of like, it's slippery at first and then the slipperiness goes away. Whoops. Actually, when I was gonna, oops. I'm gonna do this the other way. There's that knob on the end that's holding it up off of the, whoops. Oh boy, comedy of errors here. I was going to clamp it to the bench, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm gonna... This is not going to be easy to do because it's hard to hold it. Oh, the clamp is too much. There we go. Down tight. And this piece of wood is narrower than the original piece, and it's not quite as thick. So got some excess glue there. I'm going to take a wet rag and wipe that off, clean that off, clean that side up too. Then I'm going to leave this clamped for at least 24 hours, maybe longer. On this hook, I need to drill a hole in this new piece of wood. This is where it bolts on to the main stand. So I've got same size bit as one of the old holes. So I'm going to drill through here. And where these two pieces of wood went together, so I can get some light, this is probably gosh, about 1/8 of an inch higher. This is higher than this. So what I'm not have a real hard edge there, what I'm going to do is take a wood carving chisel. I'm going to round this down a bit, just so there's not that real abrupt transition. And it could probably be sanded too. I'll work on that a bit. And in this end, trying to carve across green usually doesn't work real well. This isn't too bad. I'll try a file tier 2. Put a dent. I don't like that. I want to clean that up. Use chisel. There's a bump here. There's a little bit of a bump on this one too, so I'm going to work on that and I'll be back. I've got the bent piece of wood already. I'm going to actually use some Old English furniture polish scratch remover, and this actually colors it too. And this is pretty close to a walnut color. I'm shaking it up well. Some on a clean rag. And just rub that in. And look at how close that is to the original finish. And just cover this whole piece. Wow, that works great. You can see the seam, but it really really camouflages it well. There you go. Be sure and check out my other videos. Please subscribe, like, share, leave a comment below. Have a great day.